a company with a culture of working together as a team, and the graduates are a valuable resource to us. So we, as part of the managers, we are very happy to work with them, and we provide on-job training or sharing, coaching with them. So actually do allow them to have exposure to different aspects of the companies and the business. So it's not like you join a company and you have a, say, first 2 weeks orientation and training and that's it. It's actually throughout the whole company, and all employees have this culture and have this mindset to continually providing coaching and training.
Yeah. Sometimes the conversation we heard is that, like for example, we meet someone pretty senior, and when we introduce ourselves, I say, I'm Violet, I'm one of the new graduates this year, and usually the answer is, wow, you're the new graduate. So it's like the graduate is a really special group of people, and they pay special attention. So literally everyone in this organization could be a mentor to you, teach you about anything you want. So it's a really open environment and really good learning experience.
I have a question. When will this program begin, and did they have a deadline?
Well, this program will begin in September of this year. And what do you mean exactly about the deadline? Is it application?
Application deadline.
Yeah, that will be, I think March.
2nd of April.
Oh, 2nd of April.
So that's sorry. I forgot the slide number, so I'm just jumping to it. Oh,
Okay.
hang on, we have to change that. It's actually 2nd of April.
So, because 31st is actually during Easter time, so we extended it to 2nd of April so that we still have some time to load it in. And that's when the application form will end.
Yeah. And also something just to stress around that, because people sometimes think, oh, I want to apply as soon as possible, so that they'll see my application first. We recommend you don't rush your application. Take some time over the coming few weeks and really spend time thinking through the answers, because it's not sort of first come, first serve. You don't get an advantage for pushing your application first, but they really do look at the quality of the application and the quality of the answers to the questions. So when you go on the website, you might think, oh man, I have to answer a few questions, this is so time consuming, but think about doing it over a few weeks, and then keep revisiting your answers, think about them, put some effort into them, and it will pay off.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of skills are critical to this program, or what kind of these skills are bonus to this program? Maybe I can develop, or.
Well, first of all, I think in terms of the skills, first of all, you need to speak English. You'd be able to speak English. So communication skill is really important because you need to communicate with your with colleagues and also potentially customers as well. So communication is key. And another thing, I don't think there's a set of skills required. As long as you're open to learning. Like, for example, you come from computer science, so like your computer science skill is not necessary for business students. But as long as you're open to learn about the technology, learn about some of the words, the driving words there, then it will be okay. So I don't know if there's...
No, I mean, you do, whichever department you go into, whether it's finance, you get on-the-job training for finance, sales, you get on-the-job training for sales. It's, to be honest, I think about 80% or probably more of what you learn in the university is not really applicable to the real world, if I'm brutally honest. So, and they know that. They know that you're coming to the company. You don't have much sort of technical, functional knowledge. So they teach it to you. But I think, communication is really important. Having an open mind, and also making sure that you match up with the BT values. So making sure that you have, for example, drive for results. Making sure that you can demonstrate when you've been customer connected or people connected. So I think it's just the ability to show that you would fit into BT as an organization. And one great way to do that is I think, through the BT values.
Yeah. So rather than enhancing your skill set to kind of match our company, it's actually the other way around. See our values. See if you can actually think of examples of cases that you've been through which match our values. That means our company also matches you.
Yeah.
So it's like win-win situation.
Could I have some question is like, so what kind of criteria are you looking for when you are selecting the management trainings? Like, am I suitable for this job, for example? Like, what kind of basic skills are you, or personalities are you looking for, or that I can develop, or it's just like are born to be the management training of British Telecom?
That's a
I
hard
would-
question.
Well, obviously there are some basic entry requirements. For example, you need to have an IELTS score or TOEFL to prove it. Also second upper class when you graduate from the university. But in terms of, I believe when they're selecting, there's no like set score cards. They need to.
No, there is. I mean, I think our personalities across. So we've had 2 years so far.
Yeah.
4 people per year in the Hong Kong office. We've got like throughout Asia Pacific. I think our personalities are quite different between us. You know, it's really, I mean, demonstrating that you match up with the BT values, demonstrating that you, I think, I don't know, one thing that's really key, I mean, it's BT and it's also other organizations, it's also within the school, demonstrating that you really put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into what you're doing, and you're really driven in what you're doing. That's really important, because you may not have the knowledge, you may not have the capabilities, but you have to be really driven to learn. So if you're one of the people who will sit down and, you know, not think through your answers, really write it down, just, you know, quickly rush it, get it done, then that probably reflects, you know, as something that BT's not looking for as a candidate. But if you spend time, really think through it, put effort into it, then I think that's what, you know, that's something that BT's really looking for. So no, there's no like set personality that we score you against. There really isn't. You know, it's just putting a lot of effort into what you do, and obviously matching up with the BT values.
I guess another story to share is that like the 4 of us this year, we have really, like Phil said, we have really different personalities, but we worked really, really happily as a team. We organized the Christmas party for the whole company here in Hong Kong, and throughout the process, sometimes I would get stressed out, like with, for example, personal story sharing. I ordered something from Taobao and it came out really bad quality. Sometimes it happens, and then all of the other graduates, they were supporting me. They told me like, don't worry, we'll help you sort it out. So we literally spent over an hour to make that thing look good, make the less qualified stuff. So it's really touching story. It actually made an impact and showed me that everyone, although we have really different personality, but we support each other whenever you need any help or any support. So
Teamwork's important.
Thank you.
Okay, probably.
Okay. Since you two are current graduates for BT, so I've been wondering if you two are willing to share with us some hints for us to succeed in the telephone interview or assessment center.
Telephone interview. I'll probably cover the telephone interview.
Sure, I mean, I'll do this.
Well, for a telephone interview, it would be, I think, like, there are some tips on the website as well. You need to have a quiet place to sit down so that you can really, really clear yourself and, you know, answer those questions. Another thing is that do be honest, because they'll sense if you're telling the truth or something, and do prepare for it, because there are some questions they would definitely ask, because like if you really like compare yourself with, for example, with these values and capabilities, like Phil said, there will be some competency-based questions, and also they will value you against these values. If you can think about what did I do, how can I improve that, like I did something to show that I have certain values, I think it would be, you know, pretty okay with answering some of the questions, and just sit in a quiet place and make sure that your cell phone is working properly. That's for the telephone interview part. It will be around 30 minutes.
And I do agree with Violet. Make sure that it's a real example that you're very familiar with, because let's say, you know, they ask you something about when you've worked with people or when you've worked in a team. You give an example, and they might dig a little deeper. They might ask you, oh, when was it? Oh, who did you work with? Oh, can you tell me more about the project? Can you tell me about this and that? So make sure that you're familiar with your examples, and I think that will, I mean, if it's a real example, you've really done it, then you'll be able to answer it. So just make sure it's something that's genuine. So the assessment center, how can you prepare for that? One of the tips, I guess, is, wait, sorry, I just have to think through. These are long days, but a lot of things that we did. One part, so they'll tell you when you go into the assessment center, that was certainly the case for us, is they do give you a bit of time for the presentation. So that's one of the areas that you can prepare for, and they'll tell you the topic a bit in advance. I do recommend you put some thought into that, you put some time into preparing that. It's only one aspect of the assessment center, but there are 5 aspects, so at least you've got 1/5 covered, right? And it'll make you feel a lot more confident when you're in the assessment center. You know, think through sort of the examples that you've given in the phone interview, think through your background. Also do a bit more research, I think, on BT and BT's competitors. because you might be asked some slightly more challenging questions around BT, the industry, the marketplace that we're operating in. So do prepare for the presentation, do your research into the company, sit through and think about the examples that you have, that you talked about in the phone interview, the examples that match up with BT values. So there is, it doesn't seem like it because a lot of it is on the spot, but there is actually a lot of preparation you can put into it. And if you're prepared, and you're prepared with the company side of it, you know about BT, you know about the competitors in the industry, you're prepared with your own profile, things that you've done, then it's not going to cover 100% of what's going on in the interview, in the assessment centre, but you'll definitely feel a lot more confident. So that's probably my recommendation.
Yeah, and Rocky actually just suggested one thing. We do have a thing called group exercise. So you'll be getting into group discussions. I know there are different leadership capabilities for different people as well. You might be there are certain colors that match different people personality. So you might be a really supportive person, or you might be a person who really drive for results and ask for results and lead the whole process. Just make sure that you be yourself. At the same time, be aware that you need teamwork in order to get a result. So in a group discussion, like Rocky said, teamwork is really, really important. And another thing is that actually all of these different exercises are marked individually. So if you screw up something, don't worry, because the final score will add up and it will balance it out. So don't worry if you perform really bad in one of them or anything. Just be calm, stay calm, and be yourself during the day. Yeah.
And you're interviewed by, usually each section is somebody completely different.
Yeah.
So if something you didn't have a good morning, something didn't go well for one part, you're facing completely new people, completely new exercises for the rest of the day. So don't freak out. Think about that.
Yeah. And we have
My question is pretty easy. We all know that this program is really competitive. I want to know how many people does BT recruit every year within Hong Kong, within the Asia Pacific region?
I think for this year in particular, it depends on obviously it depends on the business needs and the quality of the candidates. So I wouldn't really say there's an exact number that we need to match, or an exact number that, if they're really, really good candidates, we would, recruit some more. But to give you a benchmark, we had 3 for the first year graduates and 4 for the current year.
Thank you.
That's in Hong Kong alone.
Yeah, that's for Hong Kong. But in terms of the whole region, I don't know the exact number, but pretty much.
There were about 12 of you
Yeah.
for your year.
So about 12 for our year, similar for the year before. I think.
Yeah.
That's the whole
So
region like that.
it's like a benchmark.
Yeah.
But if there are a lot of really excellent candidates, there will be chances as well.
So after the rotation, what kind of career path would be for the management trainee?
That's what's really cool about it, because it's the career path that you really want to go into. So throughout the 2 years, you'll be learning new things. You want to try new things. Let's say halfway through, you'll say, maybe I want to try something in marketing. Maybe I want to try something in sales. And so it's really wherever you want to determine your own career path. So they'll come up. The company will create a set of initial suggestions for where your potential rotations could be, what your potential career path could be, based on sort of previous experience you've had, based on the personality that they see coming through in the assessment centre. But that's more of a guidance. It's really flexible as to where you want to drive your career. So if you're really intent in going into marketing, for example, then you can really talk to the HR person, talk to the business, and they'll make sure that that's eventually where you'll end up, so that after the 2 years, you can go for a career in marketing, or you can go for a career in sales, or in finance, or wherever else in the business you're really keen to develop your career.
Right. And there's actually one thing called two-way deal here in BT that we, lean upon a lot when we do our quarter assessment reviews or anything. So basically, it means that a lot of times, if you feel like you're not getting enough, then you might need to ask yourself, have I asked for it? For example, if you want to go for marketing in the middle of, you initially might want to go to finance, and then in the middle of the year you decide, no, I don't want to do finance, I want to do marketing. So at this time, it's really about the time you ask yourself, have I told HR, for example, about it? And if you actually tell them, they will consider, when there is a need from certain departments, they'll move you back. So it really, depends on your own initiative, and also the company will really take care of you.
So I would say BT creates the opportunity, but it's up to you to drive your own career. It's your, there's one saying that I think a lot of people repeat a lot, and the person that cares the most about your career is you, right? Obviously. So, BT will give you so many opportunities. They'll give you mentoring, opportunities for getting mentors, etc. But it's up to you to decide where you ultimately want to drive your career. And you won't know that when you initially join, maybe, unless you're really set on a certain area. But that's the cool thing about the rotations. You get to test out different parts of the business. And if you really hate it, at least it's only for 6 months, right? So you can try something else. And then eventually you'll figure out what you really like, what you really don't like, and then you can go into a career in that area. So.
And you may end up working overseas.
And possibly, that's one of the cool things about being a global company. We've got offices everywhere, 170 countries around the world, I think.
Yeah.
So just so many opportunities.
Yeah, we had UK graduates working in Hong Kong before we joined as well, and they just went back to their normal roles after the 6 months.
And we've got a Singapore graduate working in Hong Kong at the moment. Another one went to the UK for 6 months for the Olympics. So, it's not, we're not going to give you a guarantee, yes, you can move around, but being a global company, there are opportunities. Yes.
How would you describe the corporate culture of BT when compared with other local companies or big corporates in Hong Kong?
First of all, I would say it's really open in a way that I haven't really worked in local companies here in Hong Kong before, but one thing I really feel really comfortable is that I can talk to anyone about anything. So, for example, if I feel really down today, I could actually just talk to my colleagues and they'll cheer me up. But in some of the companies, there are certain politics going around that I don't really know if they're true, but that's what I heard about it. So it's really relatively open there, and the organizational structure is actually pretty flat. So, for example, you can just throw something into anyone's calendar. If you want to have a cup of coffee with CEO, you have his contacts. So just if you want to do it.
If you can get into his calendar, you probably have to do it about 2 months in advance.
Yeah.
CEO, you can probably get into his calendar.
Yeah, and the office is relatively flat as well, so that you're sitting with different teams. So what type of support, depends on what type of support you need. You can just ask anyone around you, as long as they have the skill sets. Yeah.
And I did an internship in a local company, and I think one thing that really stands out as well is there's no sort of FaceTime culture. So it's very flexible. Like one of the things at least my experience, I can't speak for all local companies because I've worked in all of them, but at least in the one that I've worked in, you're expected to get in at a certain time, and you're expected to stay at least until a certain time, which is fairly late at night. And if you start leaving early, people are like, well, why are you leaving early? That's really odd, right? But in BT, we're a global company, which means that sometimes you have to make calls with the UK, for example. If you're more senior, you might have a few calls with the UK, which means because of the time difference, you're up at 10 o'clock at night at home making a call with the UK. So that means the next day you come in a little bit later, right? So I think there's more of that flexibility. There's more of a flexible culture. Also, being a UK-based organisation, that flexible culture, it's not very well known in Hong Kong, but that culture is very, very strong in the UK, and I think it's reflected in the global offices as well. So things like working from home, things like flexible working, and just that lack of, it's about the work that you get done and the results that you generate, not just having your face show up to work every day at a certain time, leaving at a certain time. So I think if that answers your question. That's sort of, yeah.
Any other questions?
How long would be the whole selection process will be? And is there any schedule that has set already?
I think for the application, it closes in early April, and then will be phone interview. We're aiming to have the assessment center in late April or early May. So and afterwards, the offer will be given like almost right after the